Welcome back, everyone, to the always surprising and interesting world of Emacs. In a previous video, we talked about using hyperlinks in org mode files to take your org mode documents and set up links, whether it was to the web or other files. But we didn't talk as much about actually linking independent org files in your system or files that you want to link together for some particular reason. So a lot of people talk about knowledge management systems where you can use org mode or a program on top of org mode like org roam to basically organize all of your research materials or anything that you're wanting to keep in your external brain or your information retrieval system. And people, somebody once told me, well, org mode, is not a knowledge management system, but it can be used that way. It's a general purpose program that can be used in any number of ways. So links are actually one of the ways that you can turn org mode into your knowledge management system if you want to build it as such. So let's take a look at a few ways to do that. Pardon the interruption, everyone. I just wanted to remind you all that if you scroll down below to the description, I've got a link down there that you can click to get $200 that you can spend at DigitalOcean. If you want to try spinning up a server or using some of the apps that they let you deploy, I think you can like set up VPNs and WordPress sites or just some like plain old VPS hosting. Yeah, scroll down below if you want to have some fun. Spend $200 at DigitalOcean. Thank you for watching the commercial. So when we talk about linking different org files, it's pretty simple to do. So for example, here in this file I call video files, you'll see we've got just two files here. One called ID that we're using, and then one called links. So now if we go back into ID and let's say I want to link to the links file. All I have to do here is start typing. Then I can do Control-C, Control-L to be prompted to create a link. So I'll start typing in file. And if I hit enter, it'll actually open up in the mini buffer here a way for me to easily get some auto completions with a file path and the normal tab completions if you don't have an auto completion program like Vertigo running. And then I can just choose links, and I can go anywhere in the file system and do that. And then, of course, a description, call it my links file. So what is one way that I'd like to use this, or one way I've used this in the past? So I would create a file called startup. So let's say something like, I'll go to my video files here, and I'll create a file called startup.org. And basically that means like if you're starting your workday or you're doing something that you normally do in Emacs, you'll come over and this startup file, you can bookmark it or you can have Emacs open it automatically whenever you open the program. And let's say it's like your daily program from which you want to launch the things that you need to do. So you can say, morning routine, let's say, coffee, check calendar, check links. So now let's say that links is something that you want to check every day, but you don't want to have to remember what's in that file. Let's say maybe it has research information or external information that you don't want to have to remember. So all you do is, like we did before, you create a link to that specific file. And now, basically, when you start hyperlinking things, that's when org mode really starts to expand your capabilities, because you don't have to always remember, what file contains what information. You can have one singular file that sort of acts as an index or a directory to any important files that you might be needing. And of course, the hyperlinks facilitate that. But let's say, you want some more specificity. So let's say you have, heading 1 in your links file, and you want to link right to this particular heading in this particular file. So what you can do is actually, with Control-C and L, I believe, you can store a link to that heading. You see it's stored right there. So now, instead of saying, just check the links file, when we go back up to our startup file, we could put check, linked heading. Let's actually highlight that. Whoops, too far. And you can see it's already, because we stored it, it's auto completing. The basically the hyperlink structure will be file, and then the file path, 2 colons after the file name, and then the listing for the heading. So let's actually create that. And now when we click on it, it drops us right into that heading. So now, as I've showed you in the past, this can break down if we change this to heading 2, or rather, why don't we do heading B, let's say. And when we close this now, when we try to link to it, you see it's broken. It says, no match. Do you want to create this as a new heading? No. So it basically broke. And now what we talked about before was creating a property of custom ID. You can put anything you want there, and that's a good way for internal linking. But what I would recommend if you're linking across files is something even more reliable, which would be a unique ID. So if you're hovering over the heading in your links file, let's actually focus on it. So what you can do is you can run a function with metax org ID get create, and that creates a unique ID for this value, which org mode is going to keep track of. So org mode is going to keep track of that for you. You don't have to, you don't have to worry about this. You can always link to this heading, and you don't even actually need the file path at that point either. So that makes it even easier to link between files. So how do we link to it? Let's go back to the startup file. Now for linked heading, instead of linking to the file, what we can do is let's Control-C, Control-L, and use ID instead of file. So you see, if you start typing ID and we select it, it has no auto-completion, but we can actually just type in the ID here. But actually, before we do that, let me actually go and grab it really quick. So the way you can grab it is metax org/ID copy. So org ID copy is the function. So now we've just copied the ID. Let's go back over to the startup file. And now when we want to link to it, we're going to use ID, just copy the ID, and description, let's call it linked heading again. And now when we click on this, it will always go back to that one heading. And so how does org mode keep track of all these IDs? So org mode can keep track of all these IDs automatically without you having to do anything. You just need to enable the org ID feature. So the easiest way to do that is you just put a require in your configuration. Let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so require org ID. Require the org ID feature. I want to keep things documented. Okay, so I've just put that into my org mode configuration. So let's close Emacs and open it back up. And so ideally, I should be able to go to my startup.org file and click linked heading, and you see it drops me down into the heading. So org mode will actually save these in your Emacs directory wherever you have it. There's a file called org ID locations, and you can see here it's got the ID saved right there. And of course, by using the org ID feature, again, it will use this file to keep track of all these things for you. So I think that's very cool. That's a way that you can basically offload a lot of information that you want to be available to you at the ready. Particularly, I guess, if you're learning some kind of programming language, or if at your job you have a lot of like rubrics. I always like to write rubrics and have templates and have detailed information always in some sort of easy retrieval situation. This is a great way to do it, and it can take your bare org mode installation and turn it into more of your second brain, or your knowledge management system. So there you go. That's how you can link to different org mode files and how you can use the uh, incredible org ID feature for keeping track of unique IDs on headings in org mode files. Well, there you go, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, you can like it. If you want to share it with somebody who needs some org IDs in their life and maybe needs to get organized better, you can send it along to them. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more. But I'm going to get out of here now. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time.